The silence had become Marcus Thompson's greatest enemy. 2 years, 3 months, and 14 days. That's exactly how long his daughter Emma had remained completely mute. Not a single word had passed her lips since the night paramedics couldn't save her mother. Marcus had tried everything money could buy. The best child psychologists in New York, speech therapists who charged $500 an hour, even experimental treatments in Switzerland. Nothing worked. His 8-year-old daughter lived in a world of complete silence, communicating only through nods and the occasional drawing. That Tuesday afternoon in Central Park would change everything. Though Marcus had no way of knowing it, as he watched Emma sit motionless on the park bench, her small hands folded in her lap. She wore a beautiful pink dress, one of dozens he'd bought hoping to see her smile again, but her eyes remained as empty as the day they'd lowered her mother's coffin into the ground. "Emma, sweetheart, would you like to try the swings?" Marcus asked gently, already knowing she wouldn't respond. She never did, but then something caught Emma's attention, something that would shatter the wall of silence she'd built around herself in the most unexpected way imaginable. The man approaching them looked like he hadn't eaten in days. His clothes were tattered and dirty, held together with safety pins and hope. His shoes had holes that revealed calloused, weathered feet, and his graying beard was unkempt. Most people in this affluent part of Central Park would cross the street to avoid him, but something in his eyes stopped Marcus from immediately pulling Emma away. Those eyes held a gentleness that seemed out of place on someone so obviously down on his luck. "Excuse me, sir," the homeless man said softly, his voice carrying a slight southern accent. "I don't mean to bother you, but I couldn't help noticing your little girl there. She reminds me of someone very special." Marcus instinctively moved closer to Emma, his protective instincts kicking in. "I'm sorry, but we're fine. Thank you." The man held up his hands peacefully. "Oh, I understand completely. You're being a good father. I'm Jerome, by the way. Jerome Williams. Been sleeping in this park for about 6 months now." He paused, studying Emma's face with curious recognition. "Your daughter, she's carrying some heavy sadness, isn't she?" The question caught Marcus off guard. He'd grown used to people tiptoeing around Emma's condition, speaking in hushed tones about the poor child when they thought she couldn't hear. But Jerome spoke as if he truly saw her, really saw her. She doesn't speak," Marcus admitted quietly. "Not since her mother passed away." Jerome nodded slowly, as if this information confirmed something he already suspected. "Sometimes the heart gets so full of pain, there's no room left for words," he said, kneeling down to Emma's eye level while maintaining a respectful distance. "I know that feeling, little one." Emma, who usually avoided eye contact with strangers, looked directly at Jerome. For the first time in months, Marcus saw a flicker of something in his daughter's eyes, curiosity perhaps, or recognition of a kindred spirit. "Would you mind if I sat with you for a moment?" Jerome asked Emma directly, not her father. "I have something I think you might want to see." Marcus was about to object when Emma did something that stunned him. She scooted over slightly on the bench, making room for Jerome to sit. She hadn't made that gesture for anyone, not even Marcus, since the accident. Jerome carefully reached into his worn jacket and pulled out a small, battered photograph. It was wrapped in plastic to protect it from the elements. "This is my daughter, Lily," he said gently, showing Emma the picture of a young girl with bright eyes and an infectious smile. "She would have been about your age now. She died in Afghanistan. I was deployed there as an army medic." Emma studied the photograph intently, her fingers unconsciously reaching toward it before pulling back. Lily stopped talking too for a while. Jerome continued, his voice barely above a whisper. After her mama and I divorced, she went almost 3 months without saying a word. You know what finally got her talking again? Emma shook her head slightly, the first voluntary movement she'd made toward a stranger since her mother's death. Jerome smiled sadly. Music. She loved when I'd hum this old lullaby my grandmother used to sing to me. Even when she was angry or scared, that song would reach her. He looked at Emma thoughtfully. Would you like to hear it? Marcus wanted to say no. This was exactly the kind of situation he'd spent 2 years avoiding. Well-meaning strangers who thought they had the magic solution to Emma's trauma. Every doctor, every therapist, every family friend had their theory about what would bring Emma back. He was tired of the disappointment, tired of watching his daughter retreat further into herself when each new approach failed. But something made him hesitate. Maybe it was the way Emma was looking at Jerome, not with the blank stare she gave everyone else, but with genuine attention. Maybe it was the photograph Jerome clutched so carefully, clearly treasured despite his circumstances. Or maybe it was the raw honesty in the man's voice when he spoke about his own loss. I suppose, if Emma wants to hear it, Marcus found himself saying. Jerome began to hum, so softly at first that Marcus had to strain to hear it. The melody was simple but haunting, an old spiritual that seemed to carry the weight of generations in its gentle notes. It was the kind of song that spoke of comfort in the darkest times, of hope when all seemed lost. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Emma's reaction was immediate and startling. Her entire body went rigid, and tears began streaming down her cheeks. Marcus started to intervene, thinking Jerome had somehow upset her, but then he saw something that stopped him cold. Emma was humming along. It was barely audible, just the faintest vibration of her vocal cords, but it was unmistakably there. Marcus felt his world tilt on its axis. His daughter, his silent, unreachable daughter, was making music with a homeless stranger in Central Park. But the real shock came when Jerome reached the second verse. If you get there before I do, coming for to carry me home, he sang softly. Emma's lips began to move. No sound came out at first, just the shape of words she hadn't spoken in over 2 years. But then, like a whisper carried on the wind, Marcus heard it. Tell all my friends I'm coming too. The words were barely audible, cracked from disuse, but they were real. Emma was singing her mother's favorite lullaby, the same song Sarah used to hum while braiding Emma's hair, the same melody she'd been humming in the car the night she died. Jerome's eyes filled with tears, but he kept singing, giving Emma the space to find her voice again. Other park visitors began to stop and stare, sensing they were witnessing something extraordinary, but Marcus barely noticed them. His entire world had narrowed to this moment, this impossible, beautiful moment, when his daughter's silence finally broke. Emma, he whispered, hardly daring to believe what he was hearing. She turned to look at him, and for the first time in over 2 years, she spoke directly to her father. Daddy, this is Mommy's song. The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. He'd been so focused on trying to help Emma forget her pain, to move past her trauma, that he'd never considered she might need to remember her mother to heal from losing her. Yes, sweetheart, Marcus managed to say through his tears. This was Mommy's favorite song. Emma looked back at Jerome with a mixture of wonder and recognition. How did you know? Jerome's weathered face crumpled with emotion. Because sometimes the angels send us exactly what we need, little one. And sometimes that comes through the most unexpected messengers. The floodgates opened then. Emma began talking, really talking, for the first time since the accident. The words poured out of her like water through a broken dam, 2 years of silence, finally finding release. "I miss her so much," Emma sobbed, her small voice growing stronger with each word. "I wanted to talk, but every time I tried, it hurt too much. It felt like, if I talked about her, she might disappear forever." Marcus pulled Emma into his arms, his own tears flowing freely. "Oh, baby girl, Mommy will never disappear. She lives right here." He touched her heart gently. "And every word you speak, every song you sing, keeps her memory alive." Jerome started to quietly gather himself to leave, sensing this was a private family moment. But Emma surprised everyone by reaching out to grab his hand. "Please don't go," she said. "You brought Mommy's song back to me." "I didn't bring it back, sweetheart," Jerome replied gently. "It was always there, inside you. Sometimes we just need someone to help us remember how to let it out." Emma studied Jerome's face intently. "You're sad too, aren't you? About your little girl?" Jerome nodded, unable to speak for a moment. "Yes, I am. Very sad. But you helped me feel better, even though you're hurting. That makes you a hero." Marcus watched in amazement as his 8-year-old daughter, who had been trapped in silence for so long, offered comfort to this stranger who had given her the greatest gift imaginable. The role reversal was profound. The wealthy father who had tried everything money could buy, humbled by a homeless man who possessed the one thing that truly mattered: the ability to see and understand pain. "Jerome," Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion, "I don't know how to thank you." Jerome shook his head. "No thanks needed. This little angel just gave me something I haven't had in a long time: hope, knowing that healing is possible, even when it seems impossible." He looked at Emma with genuine affection. "You're going to be just fine, little one. Your mama would be so proud of the brave, kind girl you're becoming." Emma wiped her tears and smiled, the first genuine smile Marcus had seen from her since before the accident. "Will you visit us again? I want to learn more songs." "If your daddy says it's okay, I'd be honored to teach you every song I know." Marcus realized he was witnessing more than just his daughter finding her voice again. He was seeing the power of human connection that transcended social barriers, economic differences, and all the superficial things he'd always thought mattered. 6 months later, Emma Thompson stood on the stage of Carnegie Hall, her clear voice filling the prestigious venue as she sang "Swing Low, Sweet Chariot" to a packed audience. The annual charity concert benefiting homeless veterans had become her idea, her way of honoring the man who had given her back her voice. In the front row sat Jerome Williams, clean-shaven and wearing a new suit, but still carrying that same gentle wisdom in his eyes. Marcus had not only helped Jerome find housing and employment as a music therapy assistant at a children's hospital, but had discovered that Jerome held a master's degree in music therapy, credentials that had been useless when PTSD and grief had left him homeless after losing his daughter. "Ladies and gentlemen," Emma announced to the audience when her song ended, "I want you to meet my friend Jerome. He taught me that sometimes the most important healing comes from the most unexpected places." The audience rose in a thunderous standing ovation as Jerome joined Emma on stage. Marcus watched from the wings, tears in his eyes, as he remembered that day in the park when his world had changed forever. Later that evening, as they walked through Central Park together, Marcus, Emma, and Jerome. Emma skipped ahead, chattering excitedly about the concert and already planning next year's event. "You know," Marcus said to Jerome, "I spent millions trying to help her, and all she needed was someone who truly understood her pain." Jerome smiled, watching Emma chase fireflies in the gathering dusk. "Money can buy a lot of things, Marcus, but it can't buy the one thing that heals us, genuine human connection. Sometimes the richest gift we can give someone is simply seeing them for who they really are." Emma ran back to them, breathless and glowing with happiness. "Daddy, Jerome, did you know that fireflies make light when they're ready to find each other? Just like how I made words when I was ready to find my voice again." Marcus and Jerome exchanged a meaningful look. In the mouth of his 8-year-old daughter, Marcus heard profound wisdom about healing, about timing, and about the mysterious ways that broken hearts find their way back to wholeness. That night, as Marcus tucked Emma into bed, she asked him to sing her mother's lullaby, not because it made her sad anymore, but because it made her feel connected to both her parents and to the unexpected angel who had reminded her that love transcends every barrier, even the silence born of grief. Some healing, Marcus had learned, doesn't come from the most expensive treatments or the most prestigious doctors. Sometimes it comes from a homeless veteran with a kind heart, sitting on a park bench, sharing the universal language of loss, hope, and song.